Professor Quentin Quibble, a man who knew more about the inner workings of a neutron star than how to boil an egg, had finally done it. He'd built a time machine, not just any time machine, oh no. This was the whiz-bang temporal transporter capable of hurtling through the annals of history. Quibble, with his socks perpetually mismatched and a permanent ink smudge on his nose, dreamt of witnessing the signing of the Magna Carta, the eruption of Vesuvius, the first moon landing. "Oh, the places I'll go," he chortled, adjusting his spectacles precariously perched on his nose. He threw the switch. The whiz-bang hummed, lights flickered, and Quibble braced himself for a grand adventure. Instead of the grandeur of ancient Rome or the bustle of Renaissance Florence, he found himself in a cramped kitchen, facing a bewildered housewife and a smoking contraption. "Good heavens!" the housewife shrieked. "It appears I've set the bread alight again." Quibble blinked, the smell of burnt toast stinging his nostrils. "The invention of the toaster," he muttered, "decidedly less glamorous than I envisioned." The year was 1905. The toaster, a newfangled contraption, was causing quite a stir. Quibble, with his futuristic attire and even stranger accent, was quite a stir himself. He tried to explain his presence to the flustered housewife, Mrs. Higgins. "Time travel, you see," he stammered, pointing at the whiz-bang, which now resembled a deflated, bouncy castle. Mrs. Higgins eyed him suspiciously over her spectacles. "Time travel?" she scoffed. "Nonsense! Now help me scrape this char off the bread, would you?" Quibble, ever the gentleman, found himself assisting in the de-charring process. The experience was, to put it mildly, underwhelming. He'd travelled through time for a slice of burnt toast. Perhaps, he mused, history is best left undisturbed. With a sigh, he retreated to the whiz-bang, hoping for a more dignified historical experience. The whiz-bang sputtered back to life, depositing Quibble in a stuffy photographer's studio. The year was 1825, and the invention of photography was in its infancy. A stern-looking family, dressed in their Sunday best, glared at him from atop a precarious platform. "Excuse me," Quibble stammered, "but is this the cue for time travel?" The photographer, a burly man with a booming voice, barked, "Quiet on the set! You there with the goggles, stop fidgeting!" Before Quibble could protest, the flash powder ignited with a blinding flash and a plume of acrid smoke. "Well," he coughed, waving away the smoke, "that was something." The resulting photograph, when developed, showed the family in all their stiff, uncomfortable glory, with Quibble in the background, eyes wide with alarm and mouth agape in a silent scream. "The first awkward family photo," he chuckled, examining the image. "Perhaps history isn't so boring after all." Back in his lab, nursing a mild case of temporal indigestion, Professor Quibble contemplated his journeys. He'd seen the awkward, the mundane, the downright bizarre side of history. He hadn't witnessed the signing of the Magna Carta, but he had tasted Mrs. Higgins's burnt toast. He hadn't witnessed the eruption of Vesuvius, but he had witnessed the eruption of flash powder in a stuffy studio. And perhaps, he realized, that was enough. History, he concluded, adjusting his ever-so-slightly askew spectacles, is best enjoyed in small, unexpected doses. He patted the whiz-bang fondly. "Who knows what other awkward encounters await," he murmured, a twinkle in his eye. For Professor Quibble, the accidental tourist of time, the journey was just beginning.